We are going to start the last session for this thematic area 3 on technologies and innovations responding to the challenges of water and food security. The title of this session is Irrigation Through Sun. Can we control the heat to sustain groundwater aquifers? My name is Dr. Azim Alisha. I am the moderator for this session. With me, I have rapporteur Dr. Navera Junaid. The structure of the session is we'll have a keynote presentation followed by a presentation on the solar activity that IMI is working on, and then we'll have a panel discussion. So the importance of the topic as depicted by the name of the session is we have a transformation going on currently in the irrigated agriculture sector in Pakistan, and a lot of farmers are converting to solar-based pumping technologies, and inevitably this would be something we'll see an exponential growth in this adoption of technology. But the important questions lie whether we can make this technological transition sustainable or not. What are the kind of field practices that we need to promote using solar-based pumping? What are the long-term impacts we can think of, that the solar pumping would have on the groundwater aquifers? Also, there is some work conducted by IMI. We would talk about that, some earlier results. What are the possible geographical zones which are suitable for solar-based pumping? And what are the areas or zones where we should not be promoting this type of pumping technology? This is a green technology. We cannot say or ask the farmers not to adopt that. There are very minimal operational cost associated with solar pumping. So obviously in terms of the commitments that we have for bringing our greenhouse gas emissions down, this technology has to have its role in meeting those sum of commitments. Then along with the private sector, the government is also initiating a lot of projects across the provinces. The federal government have their own initiative. We'll hear from the Director General shortly from the Federal Water Management Cell about the Prime Minister's scheme, what is it all about, and how this is going to benefit farmers. The provincial governments also have their own schemes, and these schemes in the longer run would have certainly impact on the groundwater sustainability as well, on the livelihood of the farmers as well. We have a representation from the World Bank. They have recently launched a large program in the province of Punjab also. So obviously these large investments, loans, and the investments from the farmers themselves, this is something in the purview of this session today we want to discuss. We want to see the implications, and there are some international initiatives also. We have representation from IFPRI as well, from the Nexus Gas Initiative. They are working with the solar-based farmers in the south of Punjab as well. So I'm very glad we have a very diverse set of sectors representing in this session today. Without taking much of the time, because we'll have ample time for the discussion as well, I'll first invite our keynote speaker for the session, Engineer Kafayat Zaman. He will mainly talk about the Prime Minister's initiative on the solarization of tube wells. Mr. Kafayat Zaman has a master's degree in agriculture engineering, and he's been the Director General of Federal Water Management Cell of the Ministry of National Food Security and Research for the last 2.5 years. He is also acting as a National Project Director for PM's National Program for the Solarization of Agricultural Tube Wells. He has over 19 years of experience in this domain, and we are glad that we'll be learning from his expertise today about the federal government initiative. So, Kafayat Zaman sir, please, over to you.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you so much, Dr. Azim Saab, for having me here to make a presentation of the Prime Minister National Program for Solarization of Agriculture Tube Wells. Basically, this project, Prime Minister National Program for Solarization of Agriculture Tube Well, it was proposed as a part of the Prime Minister Task Force on Agriculture in August 2022. There were other initiatives as well, and with, as a part of the farm mechanization, as we, we have very less power available. Farm power availability in Pakistan is around 0.09 horsepower per hectare, and we have set a target of 1.4, and we are much behind the other countries. So it was proposed in order that the farmers will have less cost of production. They incur huge energy cost in the operation of their diesel tube well, electric tube well, all those. And as you know, this groundwater contribution has raised to around 50% of the farm, water available at the farm. So it was proposed as a part of that package, and later on, in June 2023, this June, we were directed to start preparation of the project, and we formulated this project in consultation and in collaboration with all provinces. Before proceeding with formulation of the project, consultative sessions have been held with the provinces. Main stakeholders were there, like Ministry of Water Resources, Climate Change, Planning, and all those stakeholders were there. And also there was a briefing on the provincial specific requirements, like the KP situation is different and Sindh there are different situation, and so on for other provinces. So it was formulated accordingly, and there was a great concern over the expected groundwater depletion with this project. And for that, a national level consultative workshop was held in February 2023, where all the stakeholders from academia, research, water institutions, government departments, and all those national and international organizations were there. There were also presentations from, like IMI had a presentation over there on their best international practices. FAO was there. There were also presentations from the PECRET, Pakistan Renewable Energy Commission, and so on. And based on the takeaways of that workshop, the key takeaway from that workshop was that since this solar-based irrigation operation, it's naturally synchronized. Like if there is a heat, there is a sun in summer months, so the crop will require more water, and accordingly the solar has also the full efficiency over there, and they will draw water for there. In the cloudy season and in winter, there will be less crop water requirement, and the solar will not be operated to that level. So, it balances the groundwater abstraction with the crop water use. Moreover, efforts have been also made to design the system according to the specific crop water requirement and to avoid the overexploitation of groundwater resources. There were also some suggestions from the provinces and other stakeholders that it should be coupled, the solar irrigation, solarization of tube well should be coupled with the high efficiency irrigation system, which was good suggestion. But as you know that in some circumstances we cannot adopt the high efficiency irrigation system, and we also have very low adaptability of this high efficiency irrigation system, and also the operation and maintenance is a challenge. But keeping in view the the huge cost that the farmer are facing, especially for the diesel and those electric tube wells, and also government has to provide. So before going into the details of that project, this is a a snapshot of the current water availability in Pakistan. 95% fresh water that is used in agriculture, with 40% efficiency of water use. Groundwater contribution in irrigated agriculture, that is around 50.3 million acre feet, which is 47% of the water available at farm. And groundwater availability in Pak Indus Basin, that is 978 million acre feet, which is equivalent to 1200 BCM. And average, out of this average, annual renewable is 49.4. It means that we'll almost in balance with the renewable groundwater. And out of this 49.4, 35.6 million acre feet, that is recirculated from our irrigation system, canal seepage and irrigation return flows. This is the, the water availability situation that we have total surface water availability of around 141 million acre feet and 31 million acre feet that is for downstream coatering. 6 million acre feet that is the river basin losses. And we divert 104 million acre feet of water. This is the net, this is the water that is diverted from the surface flows to the into our irrigation system. So when this water comes in the canals and water courses, so around 24.6 million acre feet that is lost is the canal and distribution level, while the at water courses, which are tertiary channels, we incur another 22 million acre feet losses. So the net water available at the farm is around 57.4 million acre feet. And our crop water requirement under the current practices that is around 107. So what we do, we draw more water from groundwater to compensate this deficit, and 50.3 million acre feet of water that is drawn from the groundwater through 1.5 million tube wells through the country, in which around 1.2 million are in Punjab. So an important thing here is that beside this losses which occurs in the water courses and distributed in canals, we lost another 27 million acre feet of water during application in the fields. So this is this is very alarming. If we can just improve our water application method like bed irrigation, furrow irrigation, we can develop or we can adopt this laser land levelers, we can set proper layout of the farms. We can overcome this 27 million acre feet of water. So after losing this 27 million acre feet of water, so we are utilizing the 80.7 million acre feet of water at our farms. So this is an overview of the existing tube wells. Pakistan is fourth largest groundwater user after India, USA, and China. And there are around 1.5 million tube wells in the country, including 1.2 million diesel operated and 0.3 million electric tube wells. Diesel tube wells consume around 3.2 billion liters per annum, worth around 817 billion. And this is almost in 2021 to 22. Our fuel oil import was totally around 20 billion. So this is a significant part of that. An electric tube well that consume around 7.7 billion units kilowatt hour per annum, worth around 196 billion. So we are, the overall cost of operating these tube wells, this comes around 1,000 billion, which is 1 trillion. And beside this, only these 1.2 million tube wells that generates 8.5 million tons of carbon dioxide each year. So this is another issue with those diesel tube wells. These are not environmentally friendly. This is the province-wise distribution of the electric and diesel tube wells. These figures have been derived from the agriculture statistics of Pakistan, but further, refined with the provincial inputs in a consultative workshop which was held at our ministry and which was participated by all the stakeholders from the provinces. And further on, we have also, these figures, this is category-wise, horsepower-wise distribution of these tube wells and also province-wise. So considering the diesel tube well, we have only 86% is only in Punjab. And electric tube well, these are around 60% in Punjab. So this is overall, the figures of the existing tube wells in Pakistan. So as I already discussed, we have, proposed this as a agriculture task force in 2022. Then we conducted assessment because of the financial crunch and issues with the finance availability. We have searched for different options. We worked out different options that included the financing, loans, and direct subsidies. And then this task was assigned to the power division because there was a growing concern of the demand on the national grid for operating these tube wells, just to cut the government subsidies on agriculture tube wells. So it was assigned to them, and we then facilitated that workshop, a consultative workshop Soularization upheld. This task was reassigned to develop a proposal in April 2023, based on the takeaways of the workshop, because these tube wells, these exist at the farmer fields, and there is much concern from the farming communities, and we have to synchronize it with the existing irrigation practices, their land holding, all those things. So this, being at demand side, this task was again assigned to Ministry of National Food Security and Research. Then we conduct consultative meetings as we were considering these financial bank financing options. So consultative meetings were held with the Alternate Energy Development Board, TBL, NARC, SBP, provincial government, agriculture, these are all there. Then the design systems, the cost that were checked with the Alternate Energy Development Board, which was vetted by a third party working already with the power division. So then the project was presented to Prime Minister in June, and he was pleased to allow the Ministry of National Food Security for the formulation and processing of the project. So this was the background of this project. So now after this project, the formulation, different consultations were held with the provinces, June 21, July 5, and July 23. Then a pre-CDWP meeting that was held in June 23, and which CDWP subsequently approved the project on June 26. And keeping in view the involvement of the stakeholders, another CDWP was held on July 6, and ECNIC approved the project on July 11. Then there was, during discussion in the ECNIC and the CDWP, there was some suggestion regarding incorporation of aquifer-friendly intervention and to take care of the ground resources and to stimulate these surface water efficient utilization. So the lift scheme were included in this project. Project was modified and then again taken on the agenda of CDWP on June 18, 2023, and proposal was accepted. Then it was approved by the July 19, and then project authorization issued, but later on, the ISCO provided a list of agriculture consumer to the PM office, and they directed to, to target those tube wells, electric tube wells, which are under this subsidy. So ICT, initially this project was for 4 provinces only, without special areas in ICT. Then later on, ICT was proposed, and issue was again taken to the ECNIC and CDWP, and a project was approved, and project authorization by the PDSI that was issued on August 15, followed by admin approval on August 18. After this approval, admin approval and authorization of the project, it was required because it involved provincial share also. Basically, the project involves, the total cost involves 1/3 contribution each by the federal government, 1/3 by the provincial government, and 1/3 by the farmers. So as there is a provincial share involved, so the provinces have been directed accordingly to prepare their component PC1 and get it approved from their respective PDWPs. And then because each component was of the level of the ECNIC, so far we have received the approved components of KP and Islamabad, while the other are in process. So this is the profile of the project. Sponsoring is Government of Pakistan through Ministry of National Food Security and respective provincial governments and farming communities. Execution is by Ministry of National Food Security through Federal Project Management Unit that will be established at WMC. Provincial Departments of Agriculture and Agriculture Department ICT. Operation and maintenance of the project, that will be the responsibility of the farmers, and the government will not pay anything for this. Monitoring evaluation will be done by the Federal Water Management Cell through Federal Project Management Unit. Ministry of National Food Security is the concerned department, and this project duration is 3 years. It started on July 1st, and but it's extendable. Its deadline is 30th June 2026. And project area is all 4 provinces plus ICT. Why is not coming? Okay. So these are the project objectives. The overall objective is to reduce the cost of production of crops by minimizing the operational cost of tube well through solar irrigation system. And the broad objectives are enhancing farmers' irrigation availability as the farmers have to bear heavy cost of diesel and electricity. So it's sometimes become difficult for them. Some farm may, bear these costs, but for some small farmers especially, it's very difficult to bear these costs. So subsequently, they are shifting to other businesses and they are leaving this agriculture behind. So the objective, one of the objectives is to increase their farmer irrigation availability, affordability, and to promote use of renewable energy in agriculture for promoted irrigated agriculture in remote areas, promotion of crop-based irrigation system. This system, the design of the project involves, the solar system that will be designed. We will not only provide solar system, solar pumping system to the farmers, we will provide them technical assistance. There are consultants. The companies will, devise a best suited solar system, keeping in view the irrigation scheduling, their land, their crops, intended crops, already existing, all these things. So it will be solar synchronized irrigation system. And another objective is to reduce the fuel oil import bill and enabling rural community access to reliable and cost. Reliability is also an issue because in case of electric tube well, there is water shortage and there is breakage. So this is also an issue. And providing technical support to the farmer for optimal utilization. This training will be a part of, this project. And reduction in over-extraction of precious groundwater resources because there are two, debates going. One say that by this solar, when the energy cost will be zero, so the farmer will use to draw more water. So we say that this system will be operated in daylight. We have average of 6 hours sunlight. But in case of diesel and electric tube well, there is no such limitations. So in that aspect, it will reduce this over extraction of. And to create job opportunities, companies will work there. There will be more intensive farming in those areas. So the farming practices will be enhanced. So accordingly, jobs will be created. And to increase self-sufficiency in food production in Pakistan. So this is the project description, 100,000 tube wells, tentatively 50,000 diesel tube well and 50,000 electric tube wells, including lift pumps. So if any province or any stakeholder and with issue with this existing tube well that it will draw more water, so they can, just switch to this lift irrigation scheme as well. The existing water pumping system are small dams, ponds, river, and Nala stream serving the same purpose as tube well have also been included. But these are only authorized, lifting system, and we will not, entertain any unauthorized lift systems. And another layer of mitigation for groundwater exploitation, that is, the areas or the tube wells which have a high efficiency irrigation system installed, that will be given preference. Project will be launched in 4 provinces. We already discussed. Provinces to undertake provincial level mass awareness, farmer selection, engagement of supply and services companies, while federal level mass awareness and all those things that will be done through federal resources. And during discussion, initially based on the study of the PCRWR, we have, made a bifurcation of the area, and based on their mappings, we have highlighted some positive district and negative district. These list for farm, negative list was there. Around 42 districts of Pakistan that has evident groundwater depletion. Later on during discussion in ECNIC and CDWP, the provinces were of the view that even within a single district, for example in Nowshera, it was being declared as water depletion was there. But at the banks of Kabul River, there is recharges there. So we cannot exclude their district. So based on their consultation, their suggestion, then we removed that restrictions, and it was fixed the responsibility of the provinces to take care of this. Because of this 18th amendment, they are sufficiently independent to take care of these things. And furthermore, a groundwater monitoring component has already been included. They have been advised to include in their component PC1s. So they will ensure that these sites are in safe and rechargeable groundwater zone. there will be, two types of consultant. One is supervision consultant, which will be hired by the provinces, and which will provide technical assistance to these departments and the farmer during the design, installation, all those things. But at federal level, there will be, there will be consultant who will be, overall monitoring the objective of the farm, the project are met or not. Third-party validation, and there will be a dashboard will be developed, which access will be provided to the provincial governments, to the federal government, and also at the PM office. And impact evaluation will also be undertaken by those consultants. The supply and services companies that will be, install the solar system and supervised by the agriculture department consultant who will carry out detail. The fully operational solar tube will be handed over to farmers and will be monitored for 2 years. Its performance will be monitored for 2 years, and some amount will be kept and will be released upon the successful completion of 2 years of operation. And groundwater monitoring that will be ensured by the provinces, and also though we will provide technical assistance in carbon credit earning, all the assessment for that carbon credit and its processing, its advocacy, and all these things. But the provinces will be leading those initiatives, and federal government will provide support to them at that level. So this is the site tube well selection criteria for solarization. The first thing is that it will be provided to the farmers having farms with sufficient and good quality groundwater fit for irrigation. Solarization of already installed tube well, and that will be duly verified by the respective agriculture department. It is being proposed that the tube well selected for solarization, that will mainly belong to any of these 5 criteria, like riverine areas with shallow water table or rechargeable areas, barren areas that will be considered waterlogged areas with no negative groundwater level effects, and tube wells coupled with high efficiency irrigation system. And the authorized and properly installed existing pumping system on small dams, ponds and rivers, etc., that will also, and which serve the same purpose as tube well, that will also be considered for solarization. And HEIS will be given preference. Applicants who are willing to contribute cost of equipment as per cost sharing formula, their willing is very important. And it will be ensured that these tube wells are used for agriculture purposes only and not for other purposes. And it will be, somehow in the form of a TUP, an agreement will be signed. Okay. So this is, these quantitative project objective: 100,000 tube wells, 50,000 electric, 50 diesel tube wells, and the expected annual reduction in fuel oil import bill is 33.6 billion, which is $109 million US dollar. The quantitative reduction in carbon dioxide emission, that will be around 0.7 million tons per year, with the expected carbon credit earning of around 3 million US dollar per annum. And green energy generation, the overall system, that will be generating 2.62 billion units per year. And trainings of tube wells and operator, that will be around 200,000, two farmers per tube well. So these are some of the physical targets and its distribution. So these are the project outcomes: harnessing solar energy, 2.6 billion units per year, worth rupees 100 billion, and through the proposed system having around, and the total capacity of this system would be around 1,500 megawatt. Reduce fuel oil import bill by 133 million liters per year, approximately 33.6, and reduce electric power demand. Our current electric tube wells, that is, utilizing this 1.7 billion units out of the national grid, so it will be reduced. Improve irrigation water availability due to free solar energy, and reduce carbon dioxide emission. We already discussed 0.78 million tons per year, worth around 3 billion tons per year. Data sub, I think okay. These are the targets based on the NFC. And for this Punjab, we have 45,000 targets, Sindh 2,500, KPK 14,000, Balochistan 15,000, ICT 150. So this is the total cost of the project, 377 billion, which will be equally contributed by the provinces, plus any operational and contingencies have been. So this is the cost sharing formula that 1/3 share will be shared by the provincial government, farmer, and all those things. Supervision administration at the federal level will be the responsibility of the federal government, and the provincial it will be the responsibility of provincial level. And farmer share is 1/3 of the solarization cost only. They are not covering any operational and other things. The project will be, the project management is such that it will be monitored by high-level committees, including federal steering committees, federal coordination committees, and other committees. Okay. So the federal steering committee, that will be the apex body to monitor this project, which includes the representative from the, Ministry of Water Resources, Climate Change, Power Division, and also there are, we have suggested private sector representative and representative of the farmer association as well. This is the financial economic analysis. I think we don't need to discuss it in detail. So with this, I'm sorry I have, sufficiently long discussion. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kifayat sir. This was important that, what's the government's plan in terms of the solarization. It is yet to start, as we heard, because the provincial share has to come and the farmers are also to contribute. With this, and giving the overall picture, I think that's a good platform for our next presentation now. For our next presentation, I would like to invite Dr. Mohsin Hafiz. He's the director of IMI Water, Food and Ecosystems Strategic Program and country representative of IMI Pakistan. Dr. Hafiz has 25 years of experience in sustainable and water management, climate adaptation, developing climate resilient solutions, and diverse agroecological contexts. Dr. Hafiz will be presenting the work that we have conducted in a couple of projects with World Bank and Swiss Development Corporation. And we think that would be quite relevant to the discussion that we'll have afterwards in the panel. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks, Dr. Azim. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you please upload the presentation? Kifayat provided me a really an excellent platform because the government has a plan to do it, the solar 100,000, and already, but when we are looking around in the on-ground reality, the farmers are already doing it. Many of the farmers, based on a recent survey which we got it from the Punjab Irrigation Department, only in Punjab, out of the 1 million tube wells which is there, around 30,000 farmers have already done the solarization only in Punjab, and still that's a 60% of data is completed. Remaining 100% will be completed, then that will be more about that one. Roughly around 50,000 farmers will be already have installed the solar pumps. So what we did, this is a World Bank studies where we looked around the solar irrigation in Punjab and the future roadmap. I led that study, but that contributed many other studies which we talked about. Swiss Development Corporation, the study which Azim started in 2019, where the Federal Water Management Cell is a partner. Then we have it also the Nexus Gain project, some of the studies which we have done it, and Dr. Claudia Ringler is here. So we also talked about, and then all those are combining it, so where we are on that one. I will not go through much of the details on this one, but when we are looking around in Pakistan, that in 60s, 70s, we were having it around the Persian wells, and then around the water table was around 3 to 12 meter groundwater depth. And then there was a introduction of that one, the tube wells, and then that started going to 30 meter groundwater depth. And then there was a more on that one, the electrical and then diesel and everything. Now it's around 100 to 300 meter depth. But in some areas, even it's around 1,200 foot. When we are talking about Balochistan and many parts. So where we can go ahead from that one? Because what we are looking around is like a cat and rat chase on that one. It's a kind of, the resources are not sustainable. How much water we are extracting it, and in terms of how much water we are injecting it, that's a big question. It's not sustainable. We have a negative water balance. And let's assume that one we are introducing the solar pumps, that one. Yes, it will balance, but can we leave it at the moment? and leave everything to the farmers? Can we leave everything to the government? No, that is not the way. If we were so efficient, if we were so productive, we should not have the mess where we are standing at the moment and the complex challenges which we are facing. So we, under this, first of all, we looked around all the policies which are available and whether, and what policies are telling us, whether Punjab, the water policy, Water Act, the climate policy, PICA, Punjab Energy Efficiency Conservation Authority, aligned with the national level policies of water sources, climate change, food security, and that giving us a really good footprint of that one, what we need to do historically and how we could plan on that one. The other important thing was that we were not interested in reinventing the wheel, but based on the building of the Swiss Development Corporation project, where we did a comprehensive study. We did it around 1,200, the survey of the farmers, 600 for that one, the solar pumps, and 600 for the non-solar pumps, and in 3 districts, Chikwal, in Jhang, and then in Rahim Jar Khan. And before selecting those districts, we did another study, and then that was giving the findings. So we want to have some roadmap which is acceptable, reflecting the socioeconomic, reflecting the poverty, reflecting the water availability, and the future demands of water use. We selected around this one, and that's showing it around 300 for the solar pumps and 300 non-solar pumps, that is divided into diesel and electrical pumps. So we did it a lot of consultation workshops, not only one, but even going to the government departments as well as the private sectors, as well as the politicians, as well as the academia. And we were hearing different things. Government department was saying it, everything is fine. Then the provincial, the private farmers were complaining it, and the politician was saying something else, but the truth lies in somewhere in between. So that's why we're saying it. What's the evidence-based information, what we can do? And we did it, I'm sharing here some of the key findings of the stakeholder one. We did it for the Rahim Jar Khan workshop, even for the Islamabad workshop, for the Multan workshop. And many of these things are very relevant what Kafaisa was talking about. Even in Rahim Jar Khan, let's talk about that one, the low water requirement, use of solar pump for non-irrigated purpose is promoted, because we are typically, that's the kind of, the farmers are already doing it. How we could maximize that benefit, because if we leave farmers only for using it for irrigation, he will try to extract it more. But how that the solar pumps or the solar power that could be used for non-irrigated purposes, and that's giving us some income for the farmers. Another is, as well as when we are coupling with the high efficiency irrigation system, we need to make sure that the crop is very important. Orchard and a high value vegetable, that's very important, but broad acre crop, that's not really beneficial for the farmers on that one. And maintenance is one of the problems. Yes, we are talking about service provider, but service provider in the rural areas is hardly available. They are saying it, when we go to the service provider, they are pretty good. But the day we bought the solar pump, and next day they are saying it, who the hell are you? We got this pump from the Lahore, and the Lahore people are saying we got it from China, and then there is no service provider available and everything. Also in terms of, again, the similar message was there, again, that one, the Islamabad workshop, which was saying that the compliance is very important when we are linking with the uptake of the high efficiency irrigation system. Standardization is very important when we are talking about how we could make sure that the compliance and regulatory environment is implemented. Because in this country, in Pakistan, that the private sector, even that there is no compliance when we are talking about the solar pumps. And then the standardized everything, there is hardly anything is that when everybody is independent to sell it, whatever the things are there. Even the solar sizing of the tube well is also not functional properly. What type of pump is needed? And that's also coming in from the other one. We also looked around now by doing all this one, we did it also the comprehensive survey based on whatever the information was available by the on-farm water management, as well as the Punjab Irrigation Department and PRC and NARC. This is showing the total greenhouse gas emission. Here we are talking about the first is the sample of the Chikwal, number of tube wells on this electrical one, 80, Jhang around 50, and Rahim Jar Khan around 14. That's the total is around 114. We did it the energy emission, the greenhouse gas emission. How much is the greenhouse gas emission from the sample of the tube wells? Similar thing, we did it for the diesel pump, and what's the number sample of that one available for one. Next is, we look around that one, the number of tube wells, extrapolating it whatever, because for the first one, we have all the information available about the number of hours, what they are running it, and all that information. But then we look around that one, upscaling it from Chakwal from 80 to 4,667, whatever the numbers are available, and then saying it, these are the electrical pumps here, and for the diesel pump there, and then getting that information, what's the emissions of that one, and how much is the greenhouse gas emission. Next thing was there, we know that when the farmers are already shifting from that one, we run 3 scenarios on a carbon credit. What if you will going it, electrical pumps are replaced, 5%, 10%, and 15%. How much will be the carbon credit, how we could reduce the greenhouse gas emission, how much, and the similar thing for the diesel pump. And that's giving us a clear picture about that one, the emissions and everything, and then the carbon credit, which is again, the government, the federal government project has the main target on that one. Looking around, the next important thing overall was there that looking around, again, there are sources of the greenhouse gas emissions, around 38% from agriculture is that one. Again, study, we are talking about diesel power tube is around 5.025 million tons of CO2 emissions is there, and Kafaisa was talking about overall diesel plus electrical is around 8.0. Because even the electrical energy is also polluted energy. It's not 100% clean, the energy, the clean energy. Now looking at also, next thing is we looked around. We want to assess of the groundwater variability, the vulnerability of that one. And their vulnerability, we looked around the depth of water table, groundwater recharge, aquifer media, soil media, topography, drainage density, land use, soil permeability, soil salinity. These are the map which we got it from PCRWR, from the Punjab Irrigation Department, from the Punjab On-Farm Water Management. And we did those analysis. And again, then we did it complex, the drastic modeling, the modeling tool, and that's giving us the information, what's happening, what are the areas. Again, it's giving us a clarity in terms of the districts. If we divide into the groundwater vulnerability into the 5 categories, very low vulnerability, what means that when we could promote the solar irrigation there, to the very high vulnerability where we should not be promoting it. And these are the percentages that are available. But again, northern part of Punjab is, which we know that one, that's around 23 to 27% is a low to moderate. As we go further down in southern Punjab or central Punjab, the vulnerability increases. This is a map showing it that when the potential groundwater vulnerability map, why we are saying it potential, it is based on whatever the best amount of the data was available at the moment. The data has the accuracy issues and everything, and we consulted with these maps producing that one with the on-farm water management and irrigation department and saying, does that reflect the on-ground reality or not? And those were then the next thing was that looking around that we did it analysis, linking with the population and then the groundwater. As you see in the central part of Punjab, then there is you're seeing that one, the vulnerability and population density increases, and that's clearly we are getting it that we need to be careful in that area. There is population, huge pressure is there, and then they're extracting the water for the domestic purpose and for industrial and everything that's reflecting it there. And the places where there is a empty places, these are the area where there is no information available. We took out those areas where there is no information available. Next is looking around that one, the groundwater vulnerability versus land use and land cover. From the urban areas here, from the left, we are talking about 0 to the 100%. How much, what kind of land use is that one? How much is the vulnerable? Is it low vulnerable? And coming up the percentage and everything. For the cropland, again, that there are areas which is, there is not a vulnerable, but there are areas which is highly vulnerable, and we need to think about those particularly districts and what we could do it. That was all good, but what that means in terms of technical, business, and financial model. So we got the IMI India team, Shiv Verma, and other people contributed. We picked up the IMI's experience of the last 15 years in other countries, in India, in Nepal, in Bangladesh, and picking up that one, how we could learn from that one, and then while we are talking about in Pakistan, what we could do differently. And in that one, we looked around the different indicators for the expansion, we looked around the business model which are already established. I will not go through the drivers, what are the fundamental changes, but business model was standalone, off-grid individual, entrepreneurs and enterprises, grid-connected solar irrigation pumps, feed-in tariff and plants, canal top solar, agrivoltaic, and then the portable that sub-horsepower system. And all we explore it into the system. So we looked around that one. If we are talking about the roadmap of solarization, which is there, and this here roadmap of solarization, which is including also the utilization plan, operation and maintenance capacity plan, and then the excess. And then looking around, that's feeding into the different sources of energy, whether we the energy as well as the how much is the radiation available, as well as the resource about that one, surface water and groundwater, what's available there. And that's giving us a feedback into that one for roadmap solar. Then we look around the business model. And then the business model, we also look around the technical design, the financing model, as well as the institutional arrangement. When we are looking around all that one, it was important to look around that one because that the solar irrigation pump sizing tool. That's the work which IMI has done in India and in Africa. And that's really guiding us that what type of pump we should install, because the farmer have no information, and farmers are typically going to the local person, and then without any knowledge, he will tell that's the size of the pump which we need to install it, and that's often it's not efficient, and what we can do on that one. Then again, we divided basically those business models and everything. We looked around that one, the clustered one, Punjab one, the severely groundwater overexploited there, moderately groundwater, and then the cluster friendly, and then again saying it in the irrigation area, whether we should, what business model we should be promoting it, and how, what we can do into those one. So we come up on those models, putting into the context. Here we are talking about the cluster. We have a 4 clusters severely groundwater. Let's say we are talking about the subcluster. Within that one, there are the moderate low poverty. We include the poverty. We also include the high poverty, population density, the biophysical aspect of that one, and saying it, what kind of the financial or the technical model is there. Here taking the example of the technical on-grid could be one, and then the net metering, high fit, and then also that one, the retrospective of that one. And that's looking around the financial one, from where the funding will be coming, how the funding will be rolled out, and who will be what will be the institutional arrangement. Is it a kind of that one, the individual solar pumps, or we are talking about the community of people, let's say in a village, where we could introduce, if there's a grid connection is there, and then we are providing some kind of mechanism that the grid is connected with that one, and feeder tail and solar pumps are also as a part of that one. Again, moderately groundwater, there was a different tools. Low vulnerable groundwater is also, and high canal density. We have in India, there is a good experimentation going on, the high canal, basically the density network there, and how we could install it, and again saying it, that's where we need to bring the private sector, so they could energy generate and on that one, and how that could be working it with the public-private partnership for energy generation, as well as reducing that one, the evaporation from the canals or the other system there. Looking around into that one, finally, some of the preliminary recommendations which is still going on in discussion with the World Bank. It's about the area-specific groundwater licensing rule as per Punjab Water Act, groundwater monitoring and allocation policy, which the government is already planning to do it. And in order to do that one, there is important for monitoring network. And IMI we have installed the piezometer network, the irrigation department through the World Bank DLI. They have also information about the number of tubewells, and that could be giving us some of the good starting point for a few pilot districts where we could further refine and about that one. Also, many of that one is, we need to think about different type of tubewells also that one. And then there is a comprehensive data and groundwater monitoring information system is needed. If we don't have a system, we'll be in a mess. More in that one, the groundwater decline and everything. And again, the water sources institution need to be strengthened, and we need to also think about the crop which we are growing it, whether the crops are suitable for that area, promoting low water delta crop in a district like Rahim Jarkhan, then growing a sugarcane, which to me is a sin in that area, growing it. Also looking around the transition and subsidy program, targeting the smallholder farmers with total land holding sizes of less than 12.5 acres there. And as well as the groundwater vulnerability map need to be further refined to the districts, and then that what could we do. And second thing, last thing which we are recommending to the World Bank, that there should be phase-wise approach. especially under the new private project, how that could be done, not doing it for whole area one, but then we need to pick up the area and then that pilot project should be implemented there. Key message is there, the non-agriculture use of solar irrigation pump should be promoted, also linking with the solar coupling with the high efficiency irrigation system, and as well as the groundwater recharging is important. That could be done through that one, the farm scale level, that one, the small pond, which the unformed water management is planning to do it, or it could be done through the special scheme where we are doing it for nature-based solution, introducing that one. And we need to have a proper roadmap, but the roadmap which should be implementable. Otherwise, we'll be in a mess like where we are standing at the moment. Situation will go more to the worse with this one. I want to say thank you, everyone.
So Dr. Mohsin ended his presentation alarming us we are in a mess. So let's try to get out of the mess by discussing all these points with our panelists. So for the panel discussion, we have first Mr. Francois Sonimas. He is a senior water resources specialist with World Bank, based in Islamabad since August 2022. He combines a technical background of water and irrigation engineering and hands-on experience in dealing with institutional and organizational issues of water resources management and water delivery services. Sir, please come to the stage. Our next panelist is Mr. Tahir Anwar. Tahir Anwar Sahab is an agriculture engineer by profession. Mr. Anwar is graduated from the University of Agriculture, Faisalabad. Please feel free, anywhere. Come in the center. He acquired his postgraduate from the Asian Institute of Technology, Thailand. He served Pakistan Agriculture Research Council for 22 years in various positions before joining Ministry of National Food Security and Research, and he was the DG when we started working on solar, I remember. So, sir, please come to the stage. Our next panelist is Dr. Claudia Ringler. Claudia is Director of the National Resources and Resilience Unit at the International Food Policy Research Institute, where she coordinates research at the intersection of nature, agriculture, and development for tangible progress towards more equitable and resilient food systems. She is the co-lead of the CGIAR Nexus Gains initiative. She drives research on the role of energy in transforming food and water systems and on climate change adaptation and mitigation. Welcome, Dr. Claudia. Our next panelist is Dr. Adil Waqas. Dr. Adil Waqas is a professor and he's associated with the US-Pakistan Center of Advanced Studies in Energy in the NUS University. He's the principal of that center. Dr. Adil obtained his PhD degree in energy technology, MS in energy conservation techniques, and a bachelor's in mechanical engineering. We are very glad that he is also part of our panel today. Welcome, sir, on the stage. And our final panelist is Mr. Nasir Jamal, engineer Nasir Jamal. Nasir is the CEO of the Rabail Technologies, a private sector entity, and they are working with the government and the private sector in providing the solar-based solutions. Welcome to all the panelists on the stage, and we'll start our discussion with the World Bank. So from your point of view, since solarization is taking off and World Bank is interested and is helping the government with different projects, so how you think these investments in the longer run could really help Pakistan to bring down once the carbon emissions? But on the second hand, is there any thinking about the groundwater conservation as well in the design of these projects?
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me. And yeah, we are financing a project in Punjab, notably, that includes subsidies for solar pumping. And we're going to work with IMI on to support that project in terms of managing the risk of over-abstraction indeed. So I very much welcome this discussion. I'm not a key informant here. I'm a panelist, but I'm more here to listen to you guys. I want to learn, like my colleagues from Punjab, I guess. But no, I want to make one point first, which is like on the broader picture. In Pakistan in general, but in Punjab in particular, where there is a lot of fresh groundwater. As you know, for the farmer, I mean, more or less the farmer uses 50% of groundwater for his irrigation needs, right? And the other 50% or even less comes from the canal water. Obviously, groundwater is on demand for the farmers. He just has to turn off and on the engine, and he gets the water. So it's an excellent service, but it's costly because he has to put the fuel or the electricity in. And canal water is almost free, basically, but is very unreliable. It comes every other week or more. The other important parameter is that 70% of the groundwater recharge, around that, maybe my numbers are not that accurate, but around that, like 2/3 comes from canal water, right? The remaining part is the rain, but by far, the largest share of groundwater recharge comes from canal water. So it's one resource, right? So one key message and one key ask I have for you, don't talk about groundwater, talk about water. And this is the same resource, So when we look for solutions on groundwater, we have to look at canal water as well and canal water deliveries. And the one thing, I want, my main message is if you are looking for a solution to reduce groundwater pumping, to save energy and so on, look at modernizing the canal system. Because the canal system requires zero energy, is gravity flow. If you are able, 70%, 60% of the water in the canals goes to the ground, right, basically. It makes 2/3 of the groundwater recharge. If you can save half of that, deliver good service to the farmers, you won't need to pump the groundwater in the first place, right? That groundwater pumping, and the groundwater pumping, when it's used with inefficient on-farm irrigation practices, again, some of the water seeps back into the ground, right, and goes again to groundwater recharge. So that water is recycled. So one drop of water may actually go back and forth several times, right? Each time it brings some salt back to the surface, or some pollutants and so on. So, I mean, you have also the water quality by dimension in there. So, I mean, really first thing, and that's not on the agenda of the provinces yet, or barely, need to look at the canal system. So when it comes to solar pumping, solar pumping is indeed a good intervention to save on energy and so on, to help the farmers. It's free energy. Obviously, there is no incentives for water savings anymore. But again, if you look at the whole water cycle, you can, this is more relative, right? Because there is no incentive for canal water saving either. So we have to look at this broader picture. But I think what I would really like us to do is to look at the economics of solar pumping very thoroughly, because my understanding is that it's profitable from the farmer's perspective. That means, overall, if you consider the total cost of investment plus operations, the solar pumping comes cheaper than at least diesel pumping. Maybe with electricity, I'm not sure. But so what we have as in terms of, we have an issue here of financing, but basically it's transferring part of the cost from operating costs to investment costs, right? And how to finance the investment. So that's one big question. Because the point is that solar pumping is, I mean, if you look at solar pumping and HEIS, which is a solution we finance for Punjab province under PRIAD project, it comes very expensive. You have to have the solar pumping, you have to have a pond, and you have to have the HEIS system. altogether, it comes very expensive. So, and it's taking off to some extent, but no, I mean, if you want to scale this up with public subsidies, that's going to be extremely, it's not affordable basically, right? So one thing we have to do in terms of moving towards solar pumping is looking at the financing. Now on groundwater abstraction and over abstraction, so again, we are going to work with IMI and between IMI and PRIAT on this. I think that as Mohsin explained very well, we need zoning, we need to measure the risk and make sure that we manage where there is more risks, because groundwater management is difficult. But then when there is risk, I don't see like solar pumping as the issue. The issue is groundwater over abstraction. So I think what we need to work out are solutions for groundwater management. I will not focus that much on solar pumping. If there is over abstraction, let's look at groundwater management, and that's a very difficult question. Groundwater is hidden under the ground. You don't see it. You see it's depleting. It's the tragedy of the commons, right? So you see it depleting. You build a bigger pump to maintain your access, and then you keep depleting it, and you end up with a lower equilibrium. Everyone loses in the end. So, but if you don't have rules that everyone applies, then there's no solution. I mean, it cannot be one farmer bringing a solution.
So let
all
me
farmers have to work together.
Expand this discussion now and try to find some solution, if not all the solutions. Mainly, you picked up on the water productivity issue, the tragedy of commons as well. Before we explore, specifically groundwater, let me bring in Dr. Adil from here about the alternative uses of solar, so that we define the whole context in which we are talking about solar, and then we talk about some solutions as well. So how can we promote the alternative uses of solar? Because as per our experience, going into the field, we have seen often the farmers have installed larger capacity PVs as compared to what is actually required. So once they have the capacity and the utilization is not, as per the capacity, so the excess energy is available that can be used for alternative uses. And what kind of capacity building is required for this community that we can possibly do in collaboration with academia to harness that potential?
Very good point you have raised, that solar is not the major issue is the groundwater. We have to modernize the canal system, and I think that is the key word, that we should modernize our canal systems. So now when I was looking at the presentation of Aquifers, he said that there are almost 1.5 million tube wells are there, 1.2 million are on diesel, and they annually consume 3.2 billion liters of diesel. And if we convert it into the current price, it is almost 864 billion PKR, and it makes $3 billion US. So how much amount per annum is going towards the diesel pumping system? So of course we should first know that we should go for solarization or not. Yes, we should go for the solarization, and not to max to the all the tube wells, 1.5 million tube wells, 1.2 million tube wells we can do solarize to some extent. And then solar energy, we should understand that solar energy is not free. We have to invest in it, and then there are payback periods and other things that we should understand it. So solar energy is not free, that we should understand. And it is already available in villages. People, farmers or the village people, they are using it. They are using, because of electricity issues, they are using it in their homes. They have the solar panels, and they are using it for fans, for lighting, and other purposes. So they know that how to purchase it, and they know the technology is there. But the main issue, what I see because I'm from South Punjab, and I know that they don't know the quality quality of the product they are getting, and how to get the inverters, if they need the inverters, how to get the inverters, if they are getting the solar panels, is it a good one solar panel, first grade, second grade, third grade, or even they are getting the third grade solar panels. We need to educate them, and especially, and I think that we should educate their females also, because if we talk about the solarization of the irrigation systems, females will surely play a big role in this. We need to educate them how to use solar panel, and it will not only education, it will empower them also. It will empower the females also. When they know how to operate these solar things, they are not going to look after these solar systems, irrigation systems. They are going to the business also, and it will change the things. And for academia, yes, what I see that we are many students coming from the village areas, they are very interested to go into the solar energy research areas because it is available there, and they want to use it, and they want to learn about it. And if we educate them through proper workshops, through proper training programs, it will certainly help them out in this solar pumping system.
Thank you very much. So picking on your points, Dr. Adil, the economics of solar pumping and the water productivity aspect. So I'll now ask Dr. Claudia, and again, linking it to the groundwater management as well. How can we, educate our farmers particularly to bring a behavioral change in terms of, water conservation, responsible use of groundwater, and also, this solar technology obviously would proliferate, across the country sooner or later. So using that solar or free energy, which has come with a huge cost, how can we bring out this behavioral change in terms of, managing groundwater? This is my question to you.
Yeah, happy to respond to that, but I also, as we had some points on women and energy, would like to add just a little bit more on that as well. So we did a intra-household survey in Rahim Yar Khan just recently, and we found that only 4% of women said they were engaged in irrigation. So it's a very small share. And out of the 4%, only 14% said they could take decisions on irrigation. So which gets us to 0.0056%. So I agree basically with the previous panelists that I think there's a huge scope for improvement. And why do we want that scope for improvement? We also found that if women had decision-making power in agriculture, so not just irrigation, the agriculture production diversity on the farm was much better. Doesn't always translate into better nutrition, but it's one pathway for better nutrition. So we definitely, I'm just very appreciative that you see it the same way. And the same survey, another result is that if households had access to electricity, then they had better dietary diversity. So there's a linkage between electricity access and nutrition, even if you control for income. And so then how do you get that electricity? You get it through solar, or you get it through traditional electricity, but as colleague Sitwar Khalid in her recent fieldwork found, with the latest electricity price increase, more households had to stop connecting or had to stop using electricity. And in this Rahim Yar Khan, less than a third of the rural households had access to electricity for 20 hours or more, less than a third. So there's a problem here, a problem on canal water, and there's a problem on energy, problem on electricity, and solar comes in all of that, right? It comes in for agricultural productivity, and it comes also in maybe for dealing with this electricity problem. And we need both. We need the water for food, and we need the energy, electricity at the household if we are serious about nutrition. So that's the response. Now on managing groundwater, yes. So I think Dr. Mohsin explained very well, and others as well, that we do need data on where we should be putting solar irrigation. Doesn't mean that anyone will follow that, but at least we should try, because we need to actively manage the zones with very rapid depletion of groundwater. And solar, as we've heard, we did this workshop in Rahim Khan, and we asked a bunch of, there were experts, farmers, and many other groups, and we asked them, has the groundwater gone down in the last couple of years? And 80% said yes. And then we said, if you put more solar in, will it go down faster or not? And 72% said yes, it will go down faster. So we do need better data, and then we need better business and finance models, because the same workshop participants mentioned that the current subsidy system is actually not working at all, especially I think the one where you link drip, it's far too expensive. And they said it's much easier and cheaper for them to just buy a solar panel on the market and do not try to obtain the subsidy. I'm not sure if the new subsidy system will overcome that challenge. But then the third issue, so you know where you have to actively manage groundwater, you have new business and finance models, and then you have to manage the groundwater very actively. And there are many ways. There's a groundwater toolbox that the Nexus Gains initiative it has developed and is starting to implement or trial in different places. And one intervention that has had a lot of promise is experiential games on groundwater governance, where communities come together and play some games to change mental models, to better understand how their own action affect the groundwater that they're sitting on, because it's not visible. So you actually have to really visualize how the groundwater is drawn down, when you irrigate this crop or that crop, plus you need some water for domestic uses. And at least in India, playing this particular game, doing a real impact assessment, if it has changed institutions and rules, and if it has improved groundwater governance, the answer was yes. And so in India, this is now being rolled out to 200,000 farmers, and I forgot, 2,500 communities. And it has been taken up also by the government. So, and that's only, again, one tool. You need to combine that. You need to have the monitoring system. If this particular intervention didn't tell farmers what they should be doing, it just explained to them, if you do A, this happens. If you do B, that happens. But then farmers will have questions. They will ask, so what should we then be doing, right? Because we want to retain a house, we want to retain farming, because once the groundwater is down to, if it's completely gone, then what people will do, they have to move to cities or they have to move abroad. And so we want to avoid that. And so farmers, they want to retain their groundwater sources. So they will come for help, and that's when hopefully academia, government, and NGO partners can actually then provide some suggestions on what to do differently and how to manage groundwater. Thank you.
Sure. So that experimental games that you just mentioned, I remember we did similar exercise 6 or 7 years ago, again with IFPRI at that time, a colleague of yours, and we tried to investigate with farmers whether they are willing to pay more abhyana for better water service delivery. So we provide them different scenarios, and they clearly saw the benefit of paying more abhyana and getting more better quality service water, particularly the areas where the surface water quality, the groundwater quality was not good. So they were willing to pay multiples of what they were paying at that time. So this visual representation of the effects, if they can see, obviously has okay, you want to add something to this?
No, because you said the farmers very happy to pay lots more abhyana for better service.
Better service delivery.
But yes. I learned yesterday that the abhyana is actually really going up, right? So farmers have been asked to pay more. Will the service also be better? That's the question. Is it linked?
That's the question, yeah.
What's the answer for that question?
We have the irrigation department sitting here.
Because if they pay more abhyana without better service, then
we can discuss, in the end, whether you are also factoring in this service delivery aspect while you are raising the abhyana, because that's very important, because you are asking for more money, but whether they will give, they'll receive the water that they are expected to receive.
Yeah, because otherwise we have a problem, basically.
So coming to Tahir Saab, the vulnerability index approach that we have recently, developed, and Dr. Mohsin presented in the start. Do you think, my first part is whether we should consider this vulnerability index approach to expand to other provinces as well? We have done only for Punjab now. And can it be practically used to inform decision making at the policy level? Because you've been part of the policy making, so that's why I'm asking you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Azim, and thank you to the organizers for providing me the opportunity to be on the panel. Yeah, but you have mentioned that the question is very pertinent, that what has been so far developed over time in Punjab, the vulnerability index, that is quite helpful in for informed decisions, especially for the policymakers. As you already note that Pakistan is the fourth largest groundwater abstractor, and we have and our water balance is negative. And for this, the vulnerability index, which has been developed for the Punjab, I think this has not been, whole Punjab has not been covered because some of the data, some of the areas data is missing. It should be expanded to the other provinces as well before embarking upon the projects like solarization of the tubes, larger initiative. Otherwise, to my understanding, we would be ending up another disaster like flat rates of electricity in Balochistan, which introduced and it's played disaster to the groundwater aquifers in the Balochistan area. It might be likely that without having the vulnerability index and the negative areas, negative groundwater balance areas, it was likely that this would also impact the groundwater invariably. But Kafaisa was mentioned in his presentation that it will not, it will be, the over-abstraction of the groundwater will be checked with the introduction of the solarizations. But to my understanding, it has not backing of any reliable data which shows that the solarizing the tubes is really reduce the over-abstraction. When you look at the, I am just sharing some few my own experiences. We have launched, Government of Pakistan that in 2015 has decided to solarize 30,000 tubes. And a high-level ministerial meeting, a ministerial committee was formed by that government, which over a period of 2-3 months have extensive discussions with all the stakeholders of provincial governments. We have decided to go on to pilot the scheme. It has to be restricted to only 100 feet, maximum 100 feet lift, 0.5 cubic, and the maximum solar panels would be 7 kilowatt, not more than that. But unfortunately, though all the other provinces, this was the markup-free scheme that the government will be providing all the loans, and the markup was to be picked by the federal government. But unfortunately, at that time, the staunch opponency came from the Punjab government. Though we have some very exclusive meetings, the Prime CM of that time, but they were quite not supporting these initiatives. And it was also in the high water table areas, not going for the larger tubes. As I see in this, the new initiatives, it has been, there is no capping of the upper limit for the solarizing, for PV panels, for the solarization of tubes. But things comes to my mind, a question arises. What changes the mindset of that time's political leaders, which were heading this federal government at this time, and they have launched a mega project without going into the nitty-gritties and the basics of the, without having a support data that it will actually increase, support the agriculture productivity by solarizing, having the clean and green energy, but providing the farmers the opportunities. What changes their mind? And the project was launched prematurely without having, still in the, I think in the premature stage. I don't know what will happen in the future, But to my understanding, it will be just a political gimmick by the outgoing government before they disembark, and then they have CGIAR. As regard, I think when we check it, a question also arises the productivity of the water. I fully agree with one of the panelists that we have to decrease the pressure on the groundwater by improving the conveyance system. Not only the canal system, but the conveyance system. Either it's the main canals or the tertiary canals or the distributory or the ground or the farm level. Thus, thereby, so we can have the less abstraction and putting less pressure on the groundwater. And as regard to linking it to the high efficiency systems, with my experience with the fields, I think the farmers are only accepting those technologies until the project is there. When the project is out, they roll it back and put the things in the stores. They never use it. Similarly in Punjab, I give you the example of the Punjab government solar initiatives. They have put a conditions that the solar will be given only to those farmers, especially in the Potwar regions, where they are willing to install the high efficiency irrigation systems. Though they installed it, but unfortunately the solutions were not the site specifics. So my suggestion would be that with regard to the solarization thing, there should be some regulatory mechanism first put in place, where it has both, and also the upper limit of the conversion of the tubes, especially the electric tubes, because of the large tubes. Whereas when you look at the solar diesel tubes, they are only in the shallow depths. They operate on the shallow depths. So my understanding is that they first put the regulatory framework into before going and talking about such a type of projects, and the solutions would be that optimal sizing of the solar SIPs should be put in place. I think that has to be site specific. And instead of going for the high efficiency, there are other options. Why you are pushing the farmers to go for low tech or no tech, just flooding their fields and then going up to the highest level. Then if they are irrigating after 7 days, they have to irrigate after every day. So there are options of the bed and furrow, rich things, flooding, though it has to be laser level, introduce a laser level, which is improving the productivity of the water. Thank you.
So a couple of points, which is a good news, I would say. IMI do plan to expand this vulnerability assessment for the other provinces as well, which should be, guiding where to promote and where not to promote solar. The other thing is the solar sizing tool Dr. Mohsin also mentioned. This is something we would like to introduce here as well, because there's no, science behind the sizing of, different solar solutions which are proposed here. So this is being tested in India and Africa. So we would also like to promote that sizing tool here as well. A couple of points that I would like to direct towards you, Nasir. One was the quality or the standardization of equipment that Dr. Adil mentioned. And the other point that Tahir Saab just mentioned was about people or the farmers abandon some of these high efficiency irrigation systems after the project support is not there. Since you have been one of the service providers to the government, what is your take on this, and how do you think this coupled system could be made sustainable if government is to invest in the similar systems in the future as well?
Thank you, Dr. Saab, for the opportunity. Basically, what Tahir Saab mentioned is, he's rightly mentioned, not obviously exceptions are there, but normally in subsidized system, the subsidized system is so designed that they allocate targets to the district officers. And when it comes to target and achieving a target, nobody, or at least very few, bother about the quality of the work. They just are interested in numbers. That okay, this much acres has been installed, whatever the target was being assigned. So this happened in the subsidized program most of the time. And next is that when you have a policy that solar system will be installed to only those who install drip irrigation, most of the farmers install drip irrigation just to get subsidy or huge subsidy on solar system. And he rightly said, Tahir Saab, that after weeks or after certain months, again, exceptions are there, not all, but most of the time I have seen that they abandon the drip irrigation and they start flooding with the solar system. The problem here is not the system, not the farmer. The problem is the selection of farmer. Being in the private sector, you mentioned I have supply and service companies, but I discontinued that service around 5 years back, and then I wholly shifted to the private sector, and now I don't avail any or don't give service with any government department. And even then, we are running our system. We are installing drip irrigation. We are installing solar-operated drip irrigation and non-solar-operated drip irrigation for last more than 4 or 5 years, and they are still running. The problem is, I will not like to mention the province, but
Now we want to know.
the PC1 of a province says that drip irrigation will be installed only in acres, only to the farmer who has more than 5 acres of land. And as per the statistics, that's 50% of the farmer has a land holding of less than 3 acres. So you are ignoring that 50% of the farmer, which are basically needy farmers. So why not to design such a system that you always focus the needy farmers? And if you focus on the needy farmers, they will never abandon the system. They will operate it. And yes, we are not interested in providing a customized solution to the farmer. We have some set of standards. We have to install drip irrigation with sand media filter, with hydrocyclone filter, with this filter, with water meter, with this and that, which increases not only the initial cost, but also the running cost. Because every friction equipment has a friction losses, and you have to overcome it with the help of pump, which increases the horsepower. So it increases the initial cost and the running cost as well. I have installed system for 3 acres, 2 acres, 1 acres, with a minimum of filtration, but necessary filtration. And I have designed it in such a way that it can be done by a gravity, or I call it a low head system. So decreasing the running cost and also decreasing the initial cost. So that is the way we have to provide customized solution. A farmer of a Punjab, who has a land of over 25 acres, his system needs something else. The dynamics of his system design with something else. But a farmer in KPK who might have 2 or 3 acres, you cannot design or you cannot copy paste that system over here. You have to provide them subsidized solution. And secondly, Dr. Saab mentioned the quality. Yes, that is the problem. In Pakistan, we have A grade, B grade, C grade. Now might be in few days if it's a D grade. So that is the problem, that most of the farmer, I'm being a YouTuber, most of the time I got the call that I have installed a tube well. It was running fine, but now after 2-3 years, it has a problem in running, and it's not providing the desired amount of water because the panel is B or C grade. So in due passage of time, it degrades, and that's what its generation is reduced. So we have Internet Energy Development Board. They must come into this scenario. They have standard for net metering. Same standard can be utilized for solar tube wells with some alternation, necessary alternation. And I wonder how come a sub-quality solar panel even passes through the ports. We must have a policy that only A-grade panel will be can be allowed in the Pakistan. And let me tell you, in local market, the rate of B or C grade is very, very marginally less than A grade. Might be a difference of 5 or 6 rupees a watt, not more than that. But farmers don't know anything about it, number one. Number two, we need to educate our farmer. We need to educate him on how to select his pump. Even in 2023, our farmer mentioned pumps in inches. I have a 2-inch pump, I have a 3-inch pump. This has nothing to do with the flow rate. So we have to educate him through social media or to other platforms that how to select a particular pump for your exact requirements.
Perfect. One thing that we also recommended in our recommendations to the World Bank that, one size fits all is not going to work, even for Punjab. So we have to have zone-specific, customized solutions that would be more lasting in the longer run, rather than, having a one recipe that would be useful for each and every category. I'll not have more time to ask questions from the panel. I'll ask Hafiz Kaisar sir sitting here, the representative from the on-farm water management, to come here, provide brief remarks, the closing remarks for this session. Hafiz Kaisar sir. No, we can. In between the break. I've been asked.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, IMI, for providing the opportunity for the closing remarks. The esteemed panelists, the colleagues, and the audience. Yeah, I think we have discussed a lot on this solar technology, and this discussion, if I remember, that has been ongoing since the last 15 years. So we have been struggling with this kind of discussion, how to move forward in terms of, helping the farmers for the solar irrigation, or you can say. So there have been a lot of discussions, lot of policy, consultative sessions in the government sector, in the private sector. So like after so many such kind of sessions, like the solution we have come up at least for in the Punjab government, like, so if we have to, move forward in terms of helping the farmers for the solar irrigation, let's try this with the high efficiency irrigation system. So as we said, we can't look only at the solar alone. We have to also consider the water and also the food and also the climate, all these things. So the solution we have, come up with the helping the farmers in terms of solar, the provision of the solar systems for the operation of the high efficiency irrigation systems. So definitely there were many challenges initially. So when we started our initial, the first project, there was so many issues, challenges, how to take forward to the farmers. So, but after so many, challenges and struggles, definitely there were, few issues which the panelists highlighted. But I just want to highlight one point here. The project was designed, the whole model was designed in such a way that the private sector was in the middle. So because the government was not providing services to the farmers, the government was only providing the financial support and all these things, and the coordination role. The basic idea was to push the private sector to provide these services to the farmers. So it was the private sector who is going to the farmers, telling them, okay, this is the solar technology, this is the high efficiency technology, this is the drip technology. So I think, in terms of, based on my experience, and I think in terms of the major role designed in that all this scheme was to provide the enabling environment to the private sector so that they would be able to help the farmers and to bring the technology to Pakistan. So in terms of local manufacturing of the technology. So I think the private sector, they have to they play their role also in terms of the localizing the technology, providing the on-site specific solutions to the farmers, so that the farmers, because the government role is to to push the to give one-time push, so that the technology can go to the farmers and they can get benefit from all these initiatives. So, but I should share some of the statistics with you from our first scheme we have implemented in Punjab. So there are published studies that is available. I can share also with all of the colleagues, whichever he wants. So in first scheme we have installed these solar-powered high-efficiency irrigation system on 20,000 acres. So there are published studies. So these on these 20,000 acres solar-powered drip irrigation system, there was saving of 6.6 million diesel from these sites, and around 17,000 tons of CO2 emissions reduction was happened on these sites, and there was about 41% saving, water saving from these sites. So, I mean, there is a huge potential in terms of moving forward for the solar irrigation, and we have estimated there is a potential of about 20 million tons of CO2 reduction. So in terms of the climate benefits, climate co-benefits, and that if we convert it into the monetary benefits, that comes to around $100 million annually if we go to the carbon crediting, all these things. So there is a huge benefit, but at the same time, there are challenges. So lastly, I would like to, request mainly the research organization, because there are many still researchable areas which we have to take it if we want to go in this technology, really move forward. So we have to work on, in terms of, you can say, the net metering, the added advantages of the solar irrigation. There is need a study on the utilization factor, how many hours daily the solar is working, and how we can remotely monitor this solar system. What are the water markets, vulnerability index, and this IMI exercise is very good in terms of like identifying the districts which are the most vulnerable district. But we have to, go into the like site by site. So what I suggest here, one thing, you are working on, like in terms of working on a tool which will give you the actual solar size. But instead of going only on the solar side, you can go in terms of developing kind of rapid assessment checklist kind of thing, or rapid assessment tools, which we can go, if we want to go to the farmer and if we want to assess rapidly in terms of either we can go for the solar irrigation on his site, so that we can able to have like kind of on-site decision, not going into, okay, we'll come to you after like 15 days or 20 days after all these assessment, and then we'll tell you, okay, either we are helping you or not. So kind of on-site assessment tool, so which can really give us the, okay, this site is good, we can go for the solarization. So I think that is all from my side, and thank you very much. I would like to thank the World Bank, because they are providing helping the farmers in terms of not only for the solar irrigation, but also on the overall water resources assessment, also the IMI. IMI study is always very helpful in terms of, keeping these initiatives moving forward. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Office Cases. I think overall the discussion has been very useful, extremely useful. We deliberated a lot of important points, and we'll take this forward. There are running initiatives. Nexus Gains is working on some of the solar aspects. EMI is working on some of the solarization with the funding from STC. Then we have World Bank support as well. So it's an ongoing process. This rapid assessment checklist that you mentioned, it's also noted, something we can develop so that on-site specific decisions could be taken. My thanks to the keynote presenter. Thanks for your presentation on the Prime Minister initiative. Let's see how this initiative finally gets into business. My thanks to all the panelists.